In the spring of 2014, my partner Michael and I received a letter from a former friend of ours. I say former because he sent us a Dear John letter in which he dissolved our friendship. Part of the letter read as follows: "And I think it is a shame that Yehuda ever converted to Judaism when it should have been the other way around. Michael should have converted to Christianity. I don't know what you believe anymore, but it's obvious you're not going to heaven, which is where I'm going." Thinking about who has access rights to heaven gave way to a buried memory from my childhood. Back in the second grade of the Catholic school which I attended, the nuns told us to pray for the Jews. The Jews would not go to heaven unless they converted, for we had the true religion. A few years later, when a visiting priest delivered a presentation on seminary life, a light turned on in my 12-year-old brain. I would become a priest so that I could convert the Jews. I reasoned to myself, I had the true religion. How could the Jews not be able to see that? Shortly after receipt of the letter, we were shopping at Nordstrom's for a shirt when I was distracted by a special display of cologne. I did a double take when I saw that the name of the cologne was True Religion. I felt like asking God, what is this, sarcasm? But I decided not to risk it. The synchronicity of the two events, while unnerving, was a confirmation that there are no accidents. Rabbi Alan Liu, in his book One God Clapping, The Spiritual Path of a Zen Rabbi, states, "In all the major religions today, there are battles being fought between the dogmatists who are old and dull, encased in their forms, and those advocating renewal and seeking to enliven the tradition at all cost, even to the point of embracing the latest spiritual fads and leaving tradition in the dust altogether. Both sides lack what the other has. Those who reject tradition suffer because they have no standard outside themselves, and those who see God's word as frozen end up worshiping a dead God." After converting to Judaism, I still hadn't escaped the judgment towards others. I remember the Jehovah Witness who rang our doorbell. She smiled sweetly with her tracts in hand and said, "I would like to introduce you to the true God." I said that wasn't necessary since we had already met. Then I slammed the door in her face. It wasn't until years later I realized she was a model for all the beliefs I had about the nature of religion. I was looking in a mirror and I didn't know it. While I learned in my studies about the different denominations and movements within Judaism and was grateful that there was so much variety of expression, the words Torah Jew, Torah True Jew, and Authentic Jew crept into my awareness with insidiousness. Denominations within the religion were monitoring each other only for demonstration of the rites and rituals. I found myself judging them for judging me. What, if anything, really changed from the religion in which I was raised? Rabbi Rami Shapiro has said the value of religion is that it preserves examples of the many ways to da'at devekus, the union with God that already exists. But the problem with religion is that it insists that only one of these ways is legitimate. Now, rather than pursue legitimacy with claims of true God or true religion, it would be more advantageous for me to humbly accept the premise that God is unknowable and beyond our comprehension. But we all do have a part of it. Nobody has the whole. If we can be humble enough to accept that God is unknowable, we actually place ourselves in a position of power. Where does this power come from? God's initial call to Abraham was given in the Torah portion, Lech Lecha. According to Rabbi Shapiro, if all God intended was to say, go forth from your land physically, there would be no reason for the word l'cha, which can be interpreted as to yourself. But the usage of the words lech lecha, or go to yourself, implies a journey that is more than physical. This was to be a journey into the self. In fact, there is a midrash for this Torah portion that states God was actually saying, go forth to find out who you were meant to be. I think discovering who we are meant to be increases our consciousness and strengthens our relationship with God and with each other to move us in the direction of Da'at Devekas. Just how does this happen? The gradual evolvement of ourselves as a people occurs because we advance truth by our questioning. Questioning becomes part of our spiritual process, and this is where our power comes. Being able to question is what creates movement on this well-traveled path we are on, one that has lasted thousands of years. If we are forbidden to question the scriptures, as some religions or denominations do, our relationship with God stagnates. Much like plaque slows down the flow of blood because it builds up on the arterial walls of the body, we can gradually end up disengaging from our involvement with religion. If the arteries are blocked, how can the body function? Correspondingly, if we disengage from our search for truth and we cease to question, where are we? We end up, as Rabbi Lu said, worshiping a dead God. I don't think religion was meant to be encased in glass and preserved in time. It has to be something we interact with and make real in this physical world. By doing so, we keep it alive and meaningful. Rabbi Lawrence Edwards phrased this effectively in his Devar, Change or Repetition, when he stated, Judaism is a growing, changing tradition, expansive at its best, embracing, seeking, unfolding. It shapes us, and it is what we make of it. But it is not simply whatever we say it is. There is a core of teachings, of values, and at that core are questions which must be asked over and over again by each generation. All too often, religion has become the outer dress or language of the mystical that resides within. The form is often dependent on the particular cultures and civilizations of its origins. It is an expression of man's belief about God. Yet in most religions, we don't question it. When questioning ceases, the established core of teachings withers into strict dogma, a relic that we encase in glass. Religion has to be something that I interact with and make real in this physical world. By doing so, I can keep it alive and meaningful. I think the more we do approach this realization with union with God that already exists, we will discover we are as authentic, as legitimate as the next person, whether he is sitting right next to us in Shul or she is across the city in a mosque or church. Our walls of suspicion, disrespect, and hatred will dissipate. Everything can exist together, and nothing is so threatening that legitimacy by any party needs to be asserted. We each experience God differently. The variety of religious theories and practice does not represent a threat. In fact, it is refreshing as we remain open to other viewpoints to continue to explore and question, in spite of the fact that our ancestors may all have experienced God in different ways, and we might experience God differently from them. We are still here. Our questioning helps us to discover who we were meant to be. This is what has brought us to this time tonight. From our ancestors Abraham and Sarah to our present-day models such as Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Lu, there is a lineage that links us to each other. Their lives reach out to support us, and in a very real sense, our lives are the fulfillment of their dreams. They are our inspiration, just as we provide inspiration for those who will come after us. This lineage continues through time as it is referenced in the 3rd chapter of Exodus. Moses gazed, and there was a bush all aflame, yet the bush was not consumed.